you guys. This first one is about restaurant workers in New York and how tip workers are so mistreated and how that system is exploitative from the jump. So this is great work from More Perfect Union. As always, I encourage you all to follow them. They do really fantastic stuff. So this is More Perfect Union talking about restaurant workers in New York.
He's like, which one of your parents are white, your mom or your dad? And I was like, excuse me? And he's like, well, you can't just be black. I mean, I see the hair, but you can't be just black because you have manners and you're articulate. You go in the back, you suck it up, just feed them and get out of here. Just make their drinks and get them out of here.
I remember this one situation, it was pretty bad. The customer told me to take my mask down, and if they didn't, then I wouldn't be able to eat tonight. And I'm like, so the customer already knows that they dictate how much we walk home with.
I've been grabbed inappropriately, I've been told dirty, all sorts of things like phone numbers instead of tips and things like that. Managers, like when you talk to them, usually will say like, you should be flattered.
I've been catcalled. I've had married men ask me for my number. I have been touched before.
You just have to keep going, and the abuse becomes normal after a while.
You're used to, okay, I might get touched on today just because like they feel like they can, and I feel like I have to because that's how I'm getting paid. Pick up the weekend shifts, you pick up the night shifts, you can maybe make $20 an hour per se. That's with the tips. But if I just take weekdays, probably not up to $10 an hour.
On a week to week, I expect to make at least half of my rent in order to survive. And for the last 4 weeks, I haven't been able to even come close to that. I'm still scratching, trying to grasp at straws to figure out how I'm gonna make it. My week to week is completely in the air. I don't know what to expect.
Nadie de los que trabajamos en esta área restaurantera no tenemos control de nuestra propina.
I'm fighting for one fair wage because I believe that us service workers should not have to put our wages on the customer. The customer should not have to dictate how much we're walking home with in our pockets each day.
Obviously, my employees are already making one fair wage, so they're fine. But for me as an owner, that means that there are more people who can actually afford to patronize my business. That means people have more purchasing power, they can spend money, it's better for the economy overall, it's better for people who own businesses, because now people can afford to buy what you sell.
Every server and bartender in New York fears for the slow season in the winter because it's truly devastating. You don't know how much you'll get. Having the national minimum wage up to $15, it would help greatly in not worried so much about a slow season.
I just want to live a normal life and not feel like pressured every day, and like the abuse that you might take from customers or the things that you just have to suck it up because these people are the people who are tipping you and they decide how much money you go home with.
As always, fantastic stuff there. And you guys, this really is a significant issue. It allows the wealthy to kind of have it both ways. So the wealthy business owners get to pay less to their workers and expect the customers to fill the gap with tips. And the wealthy patrons of the businesses get to abuse servers. You heard all that. I mean, people touching waitresses inappropriately and servers inappropriately, making comments that are incredibly out of line because they know the server has to be nice to them because they want to tip, right? I mean, listen, I've worked restaurants, you guys, quite a bit. That's really most of the work that I have done while I'm working my way through school. I've mostly been in kitchens, so I haven't had to deal as much with the customers, you know, face to face. But my coworkers have, and the stories that I have heard, you wouldn't believe. I mean, seriously. It's outrageous that customers are able to treat servers and bartenders, etc., this way. And the reason they are is because they have leverage, because they know that server has to smile back because otherwise they're going to lose the tip. So we could create a much healthier work environment for service workers by eliminating sub minimum tip wages, and we also would then put more of the onus on the business owners to treat their workers well to start with. So it would empower a bartender to kick somebody out and say, no, you're not going to treat me and my coworkers this way. Get the fuck out. You know, it would empower service workers to not have to put up with this kind of abuse because they know their income is not going to take a hit for it, right? So this is a really critical issue, and I would love to see across the country sub minimum wages disappear. I love seeing, and it's anecdotal, but I've seen, you know, posted on social media and things, and I've even seen myself a couple times. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a restaurant or whatever, and on the door it'll say something like, "We don't accept tips, but we start our workers at fill in the blank 17 or whatever," right? I so prefer that, and they might even put on there, you might notice things are $1 or $2 more, but this is the system we're going to go with, right? And I just so prefer that. The other thing, you guys, and they kind of mentioned this, there's when a large portion of your income is tips, you don't have stability. So you really don't know how much you're going to make in the next couple of weeks, right? You might have some idea based on the season or whatever, but it's really hard to remain financially stable when you don't know what your income is going to be week to week, month to month throughout the year, right? And the service industry is particularly susceptible to economic downturns, right? Because what's one of the first things that people will cut out if they can't afford luxuries anymore? They're probably going to go buy food at the grocery store and make it at home because it's so much cheaper. They're probably not going to go out and have a couple of cocktails that are expensive when they could just make something at home, right? So one of the first industries that takes a huge hit when the recession, when the economy dips into a recession or even less, just a little dip, you see a lot of service industry, service restaurants, etc., struggling because that's one of the first things that people cut out, right? So there is so much instability here for service workers. It's just a horrendous industry to have to work in. It really genuinely is. And that's too bad because it's one of the most base pleasures that humans have is good food and drink, right? Like it's one of the most obvious like industries to exist. It's never going anywhere because we all like good food and drink, and like we're gonna, you know, so it's really sad that we've allowed it to devolve to such an exploitative dynamic like this. And I think we need to get rid of all the sub minimum wages and eliminate the idea of tips. It would just create a much more secure situation for the workers. It would create a healthier work environment where they don't have to worry about how customers are going to treat them as much and that kind of thing. So great work from More Perfect Union. And I have